I remember the first time I truly questioned the nature of my existence. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, a place that had become a refuge and a prison all at once. The walls of my room, adorned with posters of bands and quotes that promised freedom and adventure, felt more like a cage than a sanctuary. I had accomplished what many would consider success: a good job, a decent apartment, and a circle of friends who genuinely cared about me. Yet, as I stared at the ceiling, a gnawing emptiness began to overshadow these achievements. It was as if I was living in a world of vibrant colors, yet I was trapped in shades of gray. The question lingered in the air: what was missing? I had always been skeptical about faith. I grew up in a household where religion was more of a cultural backdrop than a guiding force. We attended holiday services, but the teachings never resonated with me. I often dismissed Christianity as just another belief system, a crutch for the weak. I would hear people talk about Jesus as if he were a personal friend, but to me, he was just a figure in a dusty old book. So, when the emptiness began to creep in, I sought answers in everything but faith. I threw myself into work, chased after fleeting relationships, and immersed myself in self-help books that promised the secret to happiness. All the while, the void remained. One rainy afternoon, while scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon a video of a man sharing his testimony. He spoke with such passion and conviction about how Jesus had transformed his life. His words pierced through my skepticism. Could it be that this figure I had dismissed could actually hold the key to fulfillment? It was a thought that both intrigued and terrified me. I decided to explore this further, not with the intent of finding faith, but rather to prove that it was just another illusion. I started reading the Bible, albeit reluctantly. The first few chapters felt foreign and archaic. I struggled to connect with the stories. The language seemed distant, and the lessons felt irrelevant. But as I continued, something began to shift. I found myself drawn to the teachings of Jesus, particularly his radical love and acceptance. In the Gospels, I discovered a man who dined with sinners, healed the sick, and offered hope to the marginalized. Here was someone who didn't just preach about love, but embodied it in every action. It was in the quiet moments of reflection that I began to feel a stirring in my heart. I would read passages like John 14:6, where Jesus declares, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." These words began to resonate with me in a way I had never anticipated. They felt like a lifeline thrown into the turbulent waters of my existence. I started to grapple with the idea that perhaps the emptiness I felt wasn't a void to be filled with accomplishments or relationships, but rather a longing for something deeper, a connection with the divine. As I continued my journey, I encountered Romans 5:8, which speaks of God's immense love for us, stating, "But God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us, while we were still sinners." The concept of unconditional love was revolutionary for me. I had spent so much of my life striving for approval, fearing rejection, and feeling unworthy. The idea that someone would willingly sacrifice themselves for my shortcomings was both humbling and liberating. It struck me that my worth was not contingent upon my achievements or the validation of others, but was inherent in being loved by God. Embracing this new perspective was not instantaneous. I wrestled with doubts and fears. I questioned whether I was ready to let go of my skepticism and embrace faith. I had built walls around my heart to protect myself from disappointment, and the thought of tearing them down was daunting. But the more I learned about Jesus, the more I felt drawn to him. It was as if a gentle whisper was inviting me to take a step forward, to trust in something greater than myself. One evening, I found myself sitting in a small coffee shop, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the sound of soft music playing in the background. I had my Bible open in front of me, and I began to pray, a practice I had never engaged in before. I didn't know what to say or how to articulate my thoughts, but I felt a deep yearning to connect with this figure I had been reading about. I simply spoke from my heart, expressing my fears, my doubts, and my desire for something more. It was in that moment of vulnerability that I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me, as if the weight of my skepticism was being lifted. From that day forward, my life began to shift in ways I could never have imagined. I found myself more attuned to the beauty around me, the laughter of friends, the warmth of the sun, the simple joys of life that I had previously overlooked. The emptiness that had once consumed me was gradually being filled with hope and purpose. I began to understand that faith wasn't about having all the answers, but about trusting in the journey, even when the path was unclear. As I delved deeper into my relationship with Jesus, I began to experience a transformation within myself. Fear that had once paralyzed me started to give way to faith. I found courage to pursue dreams I had shelved for years, to reach out to those I had distanced myself from, and to embrace vulnerability in my relationships. I discovered that the love I had yearned for was not something to be earned, but a gift freely given. The guilt and shame that had weighed heavily on my heart were replaced with grace, reminding me that I was not defined by my past, but by the love that now enveloped me. Life was not suddenly perfect. Challenges still arose, and I faced moments of doubt. Yet I clung to the promise found in Matthew 28:20, where Jesus assures us, "I am with you always, even to the end of the age." This assurance became a source of strength during difficult times. I learned to lean into my faith, to seek guidance through prayer, and to find solace in the community of believers who surrounded me. Together, we shared our struggles and celebrated our victories, forming bonds that transcended superficial connections. The transformative impact of Jesus on my life extended beyond my personal journey. I felt compelled to share my experiences with others, to engage in conversations about faith, love, and hope. I began volunteering at local shelters, reaching out to those who felt lost and alone. I discovered that the love I had received was meant to be shared. In serving others, I found a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. The emptiness that had once defined me was now replaced with a passion for making a difference in the lives of others. As I reflect on my journey, I realize that my encounter with Jesus was not just a moment in time, but a continuous unfolding of grace. Each day presents new opportunities to grow, to learn, and to deepen my relationship with Him. I have come to understand that faith is not a destination, but a journey. A beautiful, messy, and transformative journey that invites us to explore the depths of our hearts and the heights of divine love. The emptiness I had once felt has been replaced with a profound sense of belonging and purpose. Jesus has become my anchor, my guide, and my source of strength. I now see the world through a lens of hope, recognizing that even in the darkest moments, there is light to be found. I have learned to embrace the beauty of uncertainty, knowing that I am never alone. If you find yourself grappling with emptiness, questioning the meaning of life, or searching for something more, I invite you to consider the possibility that Jesus could be the answer. Open your heart to the idea that you are loved beyond measure, that your worth is not defined by your achievements, and that there is a purpose uniquely designed for you. The journey may be challenging, but the reward is immeasurable. A life filled with hope, love, and the transformative power of grace. In sharing my story, I hope to encourage others to seek their own encounters with Jesus. Engage in conversations, ask questions, and explore the depths of your own heart. Remember, you are not alone in your search for meaning. Jesus is reaching out to you, inviting you to experience the fullness of life that He offers. Will you respond?